Welcome to the Elevated Marketing podcast show that is designed for business owners and marketers who are tired of overhyped advice. We talk through what we're testing, we challenge assumptions, and we share what's really happening in the world of marketing, which is messy, creative, and always evolving. Welcome to the show. All right, here we are for another episode of Elevated Marketing podcast. It's Jennifer.
And Brenna.
And today's topic, it's been around for quite a while. I don't even know when it started. I've never really been a fan of using Amazon, and maybe that's where it kind of started, but is it Amazon Echo? Is that right? Like maybe Alexa,
Yeah.
We're talking about voice search is what we're talking about, using our actual voice to search for things. And I think you have a Google Home, maybe?
I used to. I actually got rid of it. Consistency in me. I learned and I found recordings of things happening around my house that Google was not supposed to be participating in those recordings. And so I
I think I actually do have a Google Home over here in my drawer, but so we're not exactly big uses of using that. I remember with Alexa and shopping and kids like ordering stuff, and I remember that happening. But I think with AI, though, maybe voice search is starting to come around more.
Yeah. Well, a lot of these AI platforms have that capability of, and it's not necessarily equivalent to, say, Siri, but you are still able to voice search inside of these AI platforms.
Yeah. I mean, so Siri, I have played with that a little bit, and I definitely know, I know my mom uses Siri a lot, and she's asking continual questions to it. And I'm just not a fan of that because just like with any AI, I'm a researcher. I don't like the one answer, but I definitely think a lot of people are using Siri and asking those questions through voice.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think where there's like two sides of it, it's just like a search for something general, or there's like that local side. I know I personally have used Siri if I'm driving, like, hey Siri, find me a gas station near me. Like,
yeah,
that's really the extent of my search on that.
Well, the stats are that 25% of people have used voice search. So that's definitely not something to balk at. I think the stat that, at least 60% of Americans have used voice search at least once. So it's definitely something that people are using, and sometimes they're called smart speakers, or I don't know. I'm using voice search probably because I like to talk a lot, and I actually use it with like ChatGPT to have conversations with ChatGPT to talk about different strategic things, but I'm not quite using it like maybe you have with Siri. That's just not something that I'm doing yet.
Right. Yeah. And that's, I mean, so many searches are happening that way. I mean, we're a prime example of different ways that it's being used.
Yeah.
So then it gets into a matter of, okay, well, how are we ranking on that?
Right. I mean, the stats that they give is that 52% of voice search for local products and services. So I guess I'm not the norm there. And almost 60% using it for local business information. So, yeah, I mean, you do need to understand whether or not you show up when people are asking these questions.
Yeah. Well, and it's, I mean, we know when we're writing things, people learn differently. And so a lot of times that written content is then pushed into different formats and then on different platforms, but it's also speaking to them in a way that is making sense to them and not so technical in a lot of terms. And I think the same goes for voice search. It's how are people talking?
Yeah, how are people talking? And that's where you get into that conversational where they're having a conversation with a voice search like Alexa, Siri, Google Home, and they're asking those questions in a conversational type tone.
Conversational, that's the key word there.
And the reality is that is no different than what you should already be creating.
Yeah.
And for us, have been creating for quite a while is those questions that people have like in a conversation.
Yep. It's not about the keyword stuffing anymore. It's about answering common questions that your audience has and making sure that those answers are conversational.
Yeah. And there's questions at the top of the funnel, there's questions in the middle of the funnel, there's questions at the bottom of the funnel. Can you answer that question in a concise manner? So some people might call this FAQ type stuff. But I think there, is a longer form, but that longer form isn't going to necessarily show up in voice assistants.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree with that. And it's not to say that people aren't asking these full questions. They're not just chopping it up like they would if they're typing, but it doesn't mean the answers are going to be long-winded like questions might be.
Well, answer first and then expand off from there. I think using simple sentence structure, 40 to 75 words is to answer different questions. Use the schema markup, like, you got to get that technical aspects in there. That's been fun, right?
Yeah. Well, schema.
Backlinks, this takes a little work too, like third-party proof that, from respected sources. If you create original, reference, I'm not going to say that word, content that people want to reference, then that is something that's going to get you onto these third-party publishers.
Yeah. And backlinks, I mean, they've been around for a while, but it's kind of been like ebbs and flows, I feel, of like how important those backlinks are. And
Yeah.
I think we've kind of gathered like today more than ever, like they're really important.
Well, the simple ones with listings, that's just a given. These are a lot harder because you really do have to be unique and you've got to have authority. And that's not something that happens overnight. It
Yeah.
takes a long time to get to that authority. But if you're not finding your unique voice and just copying what everybody else is doing, then you'll never get to this point.
Yep. I agree with that.
Yeah. So, with that uniqueness, displaying your credentials, affiliations, testimonials, like what do people say about you, and do you have that author bio for all of your blog posts that you have? Again, that structured data for each of the blog posts, like all of that stuff matters.
Yeah, it does. And I think probably the most important of all is keeping your branding consistent across all of your listings, and wherever you have a space on the internet, it has to be consistent with your brand.
The same naming convention across the board.
Yeah.
So voice search, I just don't think is anything that is new. It really follows kind of the basic rules that you see with any content, like, who, what, when, where, why, in short, concise answers. There's lots of places you can go to kind of get those answers, but I think just getting in touch with your customer service or with your salespeople, they're getting those questions all the time. Can you clearly kind of answer those quickly?
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's the important aspect there is we can answer questions all day long, but if none of these questions are actually being asked, then, you know, what are we doing?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can go back to existing content, add in those questions, but certainly any content going forward, if you're not answering in a question format, I even think within like the H2s and the H3s, like
Yeah,
rewording those titles so that you are, either posing a question or, putting it like you would into an LLM. Like, what is the question that
yeah,
people would ask? Again, a lot of the stuff is not anything different than what we should already be doing.
yeah, yeah, and that's the key there. I think it's, you know, as marketers, we like to give all these things that have to be done, but a lot of it is still centered around the same focus and the same efforts. It's just a matter of calling out that, voice search is possible with these optimizations.
Yep. Yep. I mean, when people are asking these questions, they're driving, they're cooking, they're in a hurry, they're overwhelmed, they just want a quick answer. You can lead to that longer form content, but voice search is just going to grow, and I'm here for it because I really don't like typing.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that.
Not fun, but I'm not here for the one answer. That's for sure too. Like,
Yeah.
so maybe just in the quick, all right, what's the short answer? Give it to me.
Yeah.
All right, anything else you can think about with this topic?
I don't think so. I think we've covered it.
Yeah, it's pretty basic information, but go out there and get your voice search on.
Yeah.
All right, take care now.